Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index. It's double Dutch tonight, people, as we look at two Dutch players at the same club, on a slot connections, big names for some, hot topics for others. We also look at another young gun tonight, one in the French league. So get ready to get it all out of your system now. If you want to say Eredivisie attacks, get it said. If you want to say Ligue 1's a Farmers League, get that all out of your system, because we are going to look at the honest metrics and talk about, are these kids potentially ready to make a move to Liverpool? Because all three, I'm sure you'll know their names, have been linked with moves recently. And without giving too much away as I come into this, Bart, some of these are young. Some of these it's probably hard to get data on. I know you've cast your beady eye over them. Is there any that intrigue you, is it fair to say?
I'm always intrigued by a youngster that gets pulled out from the club because I want to know what they know. Yeah, I mean, I can look at things and I go, that's really interesting. Yeah, if an 18-year-old kid that's got 17 match starts, even if it is Eredivisie attacks, it's the same thing with Hato, right? Hato played a lot of games for someone so young. So yeah, there is definitely some things we'll get into. There's some limitations in the data of one of the lads because he simply hasn't played enough. But yeah, there are certainly a few where you think that's really interesting. Some interesting profiles, and we'll finish off actually with a lad that looks pretty impressive as well. So I think these are all in that box of interesting, really interesting, and could be smart for the right money.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's get into it straight away, because this is the name I know a lot of people like the look of. I'm probably butchering his name, so apologies to all Dutch fans. Givairo Reid, I think it's pronounced. Dutch right back Bart. Now, the kid is 18, so people will dismiss it straight away. But it's important to say this is a kid, as you said, that's made 17 starts. He's played 3 times in the Champions League, which people have noted and done very well, especially clocking him how well he did against Rafa Leao, a player that's well known, a left winger in world football, is mooted for big money. He had a good game against him. He's got 6 assists. Yes, it's Eredivisie attacks already. 18. This is a player that a lot of people, I understand, have looked at it and thought, wow, this kid's got something. Could this be a potential superstar? But 18, not much data. From digging around as we do and asking Bart, I think it's important to set this up. This is an element of a lot of clubs in world football are looking at this kid. Arne Slot will know about this kid, gave him his birth. There's a connection there. It's raw. Eredivisie attacks. Sample size, not even tiny, minuscule. I totally get that at the same time. So we can put all them ticksers in the box for people shout that out. However, just the eye test we talk about, I watched him in those highlights in that game in the Champions League. For a kid, there's a lot to like. And there is the worry if you don't get him now, what's he worth in a year's time? And maybe the club might ask, who's got him in a year's time? Then again, some may say he's better staying another year, Reid, in the Eredivisie and getting more experience. Maybe Hato's the one. I get all that. But this is one I'm intrigued to sort of hear what you suggest about Reid, his talent. Could he be someone who interests us?
I mean, you're right. He has made a lot of starts for someone so young. And the 1,200 minutes in the Eredivisie for this season, 241 for Champions League. That team, that is something you look at and go, yeah, okay, he's got 6 assists in the Eredivisie as well.
Yeah.
Quite rightly, you can put taxes on the rest of it, but that's still pretty good. There is not a lot of data on this kid though, so there is no whack and wheel for us to look at or percentiles. So apologies, but that's just the way it works. There's not enough data to get a sample to do that over a period of time. But if we looked at his playing time, as I said, Playing time is at around 1,400 for this season, all things combined. That is a huge jump from when he was playing last season, 13 minutes. So that's a massive jump. You'd have to manage that, but you'd hope there's a kid he could sustain that going forward. In terms of possession, he does have, we go top of about 90. So he attempts take-ons. I mean, that's two a game with a success rate of 50%. If we look at carries, 33 carries a game, carries it 166. So that's interesting. That's for per 90 that is as well. That's a decent set of carries that probably compare well with Grab, to be fair. In terms of defensive actions, by the way, before anyone asks, he hasn't registered a one. He hasn't won a defensive duel, aerial duel this season yet. Right. So anyway, in terms of defensive actions, challenges, tackles, we look at those per 90. They're increasing, should we say, but that would happen because he's playing more. Okay. Goal creating actions, again, on a one season, it's not registering. He just hasn't got enough data. But if you look at his expected assists, he's at 0.0. So assists is at 0.38 per game. Expected assists is at 0.04. So that's it. So it's showing some promises he's going forward. Okay, that's not too bad. If you look at his shooting, not involved a lot with that. No. Standard stats though, expected XG, not involved. XG and assist together 0.03, so fairly low down. It would be unfair to compare him to the guy that people are talking about him coming in. I mean, Trent is like so many leagues above this. Yeah. Also Trent is like he's like mid-20s. So yeah, there's a difference to that going forward. I think it does have some attributes you'd be interested in. Total, that's what's looking for, passes. So attempts on average per game, 40 passes, completion rate of 83% this season, which has gone up from 76%. So that's a good progression. He's kept it. His total distance has decreased, which suggests he might be just playing it a bit safer. But then, to be fair to him, he didn't play much last season, so that could just be a real. Well, he can go into a game and be like, "Oh, play some massive passes," and he's not playing a game. So, yeah, his short game is certainly more dominant than the rest of his game. All right, so that's an interesting profile. Neat and tidy might be a good description. Where is he here? So this is final structure. I believe he's this right here. So he's a little bit further up than attacking fullback. What's he involved? So again, he has a large period at the beginning of the game where he is involved, touch or pass every minute, if not two. Yeah, and then he kind of just drops off to just one every other minute. Okay, so in terms of chains, not is involved in a low, which is below 5. But pleasingly, what does he offer? Well, he's offered some stuff on the left half space, which suggests he switches the ball. Okay, he's offered some passing into zone 14, which is good, and he's offered some passing on the right half space. So it's again not the volume that we'd expect from Trent, but it's still for an 18-year-old kid. There are some signs there where you could think, okay, that's interesting. This is in the Europa League as well.
Champions League, wasn't it? The Milan game, yeah.
The Milan game. So if you look at the threat he faced, he stopped 91%, which, considering the guys he'd have been up against, that's pretty exceptional, to be fair to you. Defensive, did he create anything down his side? No, they were more left side dominant in this game. So that's okay. He just came in and did his job. Again, I haven't got a lot of people would say that's what they want in a fullback now, moving on from Trent. Okay, cool. That's your bag. Defensive actions, does his fair share. Yeah, that's at 11% in exactly his channel versus the left back, which is about 10%. So fairly balanced, doing his job, doing his role. XG, not involved. and did take a shot on. So there are some things from the limited data we can see which suggest that he does get in and around the right areas. Okay, he's wider in a more traditional shape than our normal fullbacks. I think that's fair to say. This is more of a Bradley position than it is a Trent. Okay, Bradley will offer you something else because he's a little more experienced. He's played international, yada yada yada. But there is some bits. There are some pieces. Certainly on the ball, looks to be tidy, safe. Assists in that level of games. Yeah, I don't know how. Not a massive fan of final how they play, but I would imagine you would expect a bit more assists to come from your fullbacks, or at least expected assists. So that could be a little bit low for him. Considering he's made 17 starts, he has that opportunity to do that. So that would be 0.03 for his season. He's probably a little bit on the low side, but defensively, the stats we've got, it doesn't seem to be giving much away. But again, award stress, it's a limited data set. You haven't got a massive load of data on it. But yeah, he takes up position, interlinks with the right forwards, as in our right back links him with Moya. And there are some passes where he plays inside with the right hand side six. So yeah, interesting as a kid. Probably not as exciting as Hato, but to be fair with you, there was more in the data for Hato, so we can make more of an assessment. Whereas this kid, from what he's got, the club must have a load of data on him. But what's the price on him?
Well, this is the first time I've done this to you, Bart, and you can't hate me on this, but I wanted to get your sort of unbridled opinion before I furnished you with further data that we got from sort of analysts and from our sources. So, a couple of things that have come up recently that we mentioned it was against Milan. In 2 games where he played 80 minutes in the first leg and the full game in the second one against Milan, Milan only scored 1 goal. So he's done a real good job seeing as that. So he's obviously got that potential. The price point, they reckon the price point suggested is around 20 to 25 million for this kid, which it's not a small amount, but in world football terms, it certainly ain't the biggest by any means at the second time. And what they've started to notice as well from the info we've got from the analysts. Now, listen, I'm not going to pretend I'm an Eredivisie expert. I'll watch the Eredivisie. We'd just be lying if we told you that. But the biggest thing that's come up recently is the upturn in his assists has crept up. They've started to notice. And in his last 3 games in the Eredivisie, 5 assists, including a hat-trick of assists at the weekend. So with that extra bit of information and the price point especially, any chance whatsoever of being a Conor Bradley understudy for you? And, I left one bit off for you because I know you like the physical stats. Clock so far at 34.3 kmh this season.
Yeah, that price point is that's nothing in today's football, is it really? No injury record so far, but the issue is going to be that's a huge amount of increase in minutes from nothing, so you definitely want to have that. But no, that's certainly something, if he carries that going for the rest of the season, that sounds like a deal that is reasonable to do if you have some money left at the summer. That would be, though, if you're happy with Bradley being your starter, right?
Yeah. That's the worry, isn't it?
You may or may not be. As you pointed out earlier, yesterday or today, he's actually missed more games than he has played for us now.
Yeah.
So, that would be my only thing is, I think if you're going to spend in the fullback areas, for me, I would potentially look for starters. But this isn't a bad, for £20 million, that's nothing in today's money. Again, you sell, say Joe goes first, said about £40 million, and you sell another prospect goes, you could end up getting 2 backups for the defence for the same price. It's not inconceivable you push Joe's price up a lot and you can cover that. Maybe. I don't know. It just depends how you want to do it. But certainly, with that level of assists, There's nothing in there that's a massive red flag, by the way. But then there's equally
true.
there's not a lot of data actually live. So yeah, a physical, quick players are always good. Tall players are always good. And to be making that level of starts at his age, clearly he's shown something to the club. And as you say, in the Champions League, he's done well. Yeah, that's good performances. So there's a lot of ticks on there. It would be neglect of me to suggest from the data we have to say yes, go and sign him. But the club clearly have some other data, and they're happy. 20 million sounds reasonable, but again, have to see what money they've got left into this one.
Okay, so there is our first Feyenoord player ticked off. So now we move to a player that, from digging around, there's a few amber to red flags, but there is some maybe attractive things, and we'll see how Bart balances this one. Quinten Timber, brother of Urian, the Arsenal fullback. However, Quinten tends to be a midfielder, can play a few positions, can be a sort of central midfielder, a 6 and an 8, predominantly an 8, known as box to box. Injuries we're going to have to talk about at some point, Bart. I think you're going to like the price point that we're hearing or talking about. I suppose the ultimate question is, when we run the metrics, as we're going to as ever, could this boy be a good squad option at the right price? And we know some of the analysts are quite big fans of Timber, but there's a few flags, let's say. So I'll leave you to run it as normal.
So you look at minutes played, top up per 90. So this season he's in at 1,300, down from 26 last season. Clearly, there's been some injuries this year because he's only made 18 starts and he made 31 last year, and there isn't that much. That's not that long left in any seasons across Europe. So, yeah, that's almost half the minutes, right? So, yeah, that's something turning out to be one of his lowest seasons in terms of minutes. So something to be wary of going forward. I haven't looked at transfer market, so I couldn't tell you what the injuries are, but something to be thinking about. As a midfielder, we got his, just got past it probably. Stats. So goals, if you talk about per 90, goals and assists, he has got 0.39. He has had a 0.54, so those are actually not too far off some of our forwards.
Yeah.
Our forwards are at around 0.6, right? So he's had a 0.54, which only 5. That's for a midfielder. Okay. Some things I like. Some things to like on that one. If you look at his passing, stuff a bit down. I'm trying to find his aerials actually, which they haven't got. Which is always a worry. We'll look at his normal whack and wheel then to go there. Defensively, that'd be right. Aerials 33 percentile. So yeah, as a midfielder, you'd expect he'd be able to compete. I don't know what has he got his height on here? No. So I couldn't tell you what his how high he is. But that would be a worry if he's going to play in centre mid. We need certainly a 6 to be aerially dominant. In terms of blocks and interceptions, he does a lot of the covering, which we need. Slightly low for blocks, but interceptions makes it out with 59 percentiles and needs 70 percentiles. That's okay. It's probably one of the better ones we've seen tonight. If I'm being honest with you, in terms of what he does on the ball, so he receives a lot of progressive passes. So that suggests to me he's more of an 8 than a 6.
Yeah.
He takes players on. That's grab style. Carries the ball 60 percentile and is in the 82nd percentile for midfielders in the attacking independent box. That's third man running. That's like Dominic Szoboszlai type thing. Does not pass the ball in any 82nd percentile pass completion, but 82% pass completion accuracy, 34th percentile for actual completion. And he's in third percentile for passes attempted for a midfielder who is our workhorse. The ball goes into midfield, it goes out, but they generally are a pivotal part in us moving that ball around the park. And I'm being kind, but that they are really low for a midfielder. All right, 82% passing rate, that's great, but the volume is just way down on what we'd expect. 29 passes per 90. That's just, yeah, I mean, some of our subs are more. So that's a really low amount. What does he do in the box? Not involved in a lot of goals, 15th percentile, non-penalty goals, 34th percentile. Assists though, 80th. So clearly create shot creating actions, dribble, maybe across, those kind of things. Or the minimum amount of passes he does are really close to goals to create it. So yeah, a bit of a weird one, if being honest with you. Carries it a lot, but then so low on the passing. Like Graf carries the ball, but he can still pass the football. So yeah, to see that starker contrast is an interesting one. Now, comparing him, let's find our two midfielders that we were comparing to. I've lost them already. So you want to compare him to our current stock of midfielders. We would generally compare with Brian. So, as I said, Ryan largely dominates on nearly all the metric or matches him apart from dribbles and progressive passes received, because he probably plays higher up than Ryan. And the assists, again, Ryan, that doesn't do that for us. Yeah. Shot creating actions as well doesn't do that. If I try and find McAllister is the other player that he would be competing against. And again, McAllister dwarfed him on metrics apart from aerials, tackling, and some of the defensive metrics. So yeah, so there might be some physical elements that would go in Timber's favour. If we look at some of the stuff that I would run for him, similar kind of game as we've just done, he's operating a little bit further forward, than he we looked at. Not a lot of connections there, if I've been honest with you. But if we look at after first subs, yeah. But the thing you got to look at here is the build structure. We generally have triangles linked across, and we have two. Yeah, you would see triangles all over with the two boxes. Yeah, that's a different build structure. So it's not impossible, and the footballer should be able to learn and do it. But he's used to building in a different way, and he's not as connected as our midfielders generally are. So if we look at as I've given you a few little breadcrumbs, he is not on the ball a lot at all. But for a centre mid, that would be an orange flag if you want to be in there. Yeah, because our centre mid generally should be the safe ball. I'm in trouble, I'll give it to a centre mid. And then a centre mid will keep it, move it, find a forward or find a defender. To not be on the ball that much is a little bit of a concern for me. Offer some passes in and around the zones, okay, cool. But it's just that volume isn't there for me. Threat, he's not going to do, what does he do in terms of defensive? Just to work it down, I think he's even listed, which is a bit of a worry. In the areas he's operating, not a lot of threat coming, but then, as we said before, they generally create down the wide areas, so he's not connecting with those areas. And off the ball, so he's in around these areas. They have got quite a high amount of defensive actions in those areas, but it's more the fullbacks doing the work for the side defensively. And just checking XG wise and shots, he took one shot and wasn't involved in any XG. So yeah, as always, I'm always intrigued by what the club have got data wise for him. But for me, there's a few too many red flags for a midfielder with that low pass percentile, I have to be honest.
I suppose the final bit, and we'll keep this brief then, see if I can move you away from a complete no to see what, again, the info that we've dug for is. Yeah, other red flags to say. His season's over now, pretty much, that he's missed 24 games and he'll miss more before the end of the season. So that minutes aren't set to increase, although it's a good minutes record before that. Can obviously worked with on a slot, so that works in the bit. Like you say, clearly profiles more of an 8. And the big standout is successful take-ons. He moves the ball really well. There's no two ways about it, up and down. Just doesn't pass it at all, really, particularly. It is the big thing. Price point, Bart, because this is one I remember when I got it, I was like, really? Really? But the intimations are the club have had a good look at this player. A year left on his Feyenoord deal, and suggestions somewhere even around 15 million could get it done. 15 million.
What's the injury? Is it a season ender? Is it knee?
Yeah, a knee ligament.
Yeah, see, for me, I have to be honest with you. I said to you before in our pods, I'm not buying. I don't want to buy injury-prone players anymore. I want to buy bomb-proof. I remember I loved Ox when we bought him. He was a cheaper player at the time. He gave us some great memories, but ultimately he broke down. And it's, do you know what I mean? I think injury record is a key indicator in signing a player. And if you've got a player who's got a history of injuries and or hasn't recovered, because we've been buying him while he's still recovering from any injury, I think that's a huge red flag, and I would not be stumping any of my money on that.
Which probably, ladies and gents, answers our thoughts on Quinten Timber. We'll see if anything really comes to fruition. And the last player on the docket for tonight, we're moving out of Holland, we're moving to France, but we're moving to another Lowlands player, Belgian youngster Malick Fofana. Quite young, Bart's 19. Left winger. Players always get excited by a left winger, don't they? Especially Belgian youngster. Big thing that's come out recently as well is probably most people have clocked. This kid's agent has said Liverpool is his dream. He's got like Sadio Mane, and Liverpool is his club. The other side is French Ligue 1. Lyon is skin. We know Lyon's financial problems, so that can lean into it. But we always say this, the final bit I'll add for, I'll let you run your stats. If you're going to get in Liverpool's attack, you've got to be really good. And you've got to have at least really good potential if you're a youngster, because Diaz and Gakpo are there currently. Look, let's be honest, people. Chiesa can't even get a game. So that sets the standard really at the moment. So we've got to put it in those parameters. But let's see what you've got for this kid and his potential, Bart.
So, playing time. He's clocking in at 24 starts for them this season, and he's done 1,200 minutes. So that's a sizable increase from last season at 500. All right, so that's pretty good. He's done just under 1,490s as well out of that 24 starts. So just over half the games he's staying on for the full length of time, which is a good progression from last season where he was just over the half he was getting taken off. So, yeah. In terms of another thing that people may or may not know is everybody tells you how much the player adds to a team in terms of XG. So he actually adds 0.66 this season. So he's adding to Lyon's XG ability when he's on the pitch. Yeah. He's not a negative influence. All right. Not as much as last season, it was 0.84, but again, so few data points. He could have gone on and scored a hat trick and then inflate the numbers. But that amount of minutes to add 0.66 for a kid, okay, we'll take that. Aerial's not really his wheelhouse, 18%, but okay. I think if you probably compared it with ours, it wouldn't be that much better, to be honest with you. If we look a little bit further up where we were going, there isn't a lot of data. So assists, he's going up. He's got 4. If we do that per 90, so he's coming up at 0.3 per 90, which is an improvement over the years. Expected assists, okay, which is like the threat, if you like. He's at 0.22 versus 0.08, so again an improvement on previous years, which is good. Yeah. Progressive passes making. He's rather than 1.6, he's now at nearly 3 a game, so that's good. If we look at his passing completion, attempted is 34 passes per game. He's completed 26 of those. So his pass completion percentage has gone down a bit, but the volume has gone up. What he's tempted. And I would suggest his biggest change has been his short game. He's shortened this game a bit from 12 a game to nearly 17 a game. So he's changed it from being a bit more, So that's where he added the numbers. In terms of overall XG and assists combined, again, going up. 0.38 last season, 0.46. Remember, we asked ours are about 0.6, 0.65. So he's a bit below that, but he's a kid. But if you're going to say, is he going to get in that 6? That's something to think about, considering Chiesas will be immense at the moment, but he ain't playing a lot of minutes. The guy's an Italy international. Every time he comes on, seems to score and shoot a lot, and he can't get on the pitch. So something to take on board. Running the usual. Okay, defensively, aerials, we've already said, not a strong point. Clearances, clearly does something defensively for the side, has a role on set plays in corners perhaps. But tackles and interceptions, okay, for a forward. That's okay. So he's doing the high press, or he's engaging the defender and winning the ball. That's okay. Blocking it could do a bit higher. So that's just he's more proactive in his defending rather than waiting and blocking the pass today. Progressive passes received 81, so he is high up the pitch. He's receiving the ball. He's the outlet, giving the ball. Let's see what he does. And then he progresses that ball into the box. He's 84% off the touches in the penalty box. That's good. Progressing carries, again, gets it, carries it, or can take it from deep and goes. 96% off. That's really good. Okay, passing though, he's still better than Timber, but he's 33% off for passes attempted, but his passing accuracy is 76. But he's a forward, so that's in and around the right wheelhouse, but we'd expect a little bit higher volume from him. Non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG, sorry, he's 83% on 97, so good per 90. Shot creating actions is low though for a winger. He's only 23% off. So, but he's only taking 1.98 shots, which, that's a little bit low. But I want to look at where he's playing. He might play really wide, so he's not in the areas. We used to Mo doing stupid amounts of shots a game, or above that. So Nunes is around that. He does about that game as well. In the minutes he comes on, so it gives you a reflection. If you are comparing him with some of our forwards, so let's see what these are here. He'll be playing left, right? Have I got that right?
Yeah. Left wing, right foot, like Luis Diaz, essentially.
Yeah, which I've really got it. But if you look at, so Nunes is playing out there a little bit. Not too dissimilar to profile, to be honest with you.
No.
Apart from Fofana has got a higher amount of non-penalty goals. So it's not too far off. If you look at some of all the highlights, we looked at Alvarez is obviously going to dominate over where he was. Elliot is a different kind of player. So, there is definitely some things to look up for. What does he look like on the dashboard? He's playing this left area. He's well connected. Okay. You might want to see your 8 giving in the ball as well, but we would typically have our fullback give the wide player ball, and equally he's linked in with the other forwards. If we look at him up to the first subs, very, very similar. So there are some things to like. How's he receiving the ball? He receives the ball probably every other minute. So he's involved. They clearly like to break because he's involved in low passing chains. He's not involved in the recycle. He's involved in the progressive pass out to him. Go and attack the player, go and attack the ball. And therefore he's not creating a lot of progressive passes. So that's fine. Okay. Look at threat. Does he do anything defensively? And the answer is yes, he stops the threat coming his way. What does he do in terms of himself? So that is 9 and 12, 16% of the threat is in his area creation. So there's some things I like about that, to be honest with you. Off the ball, lower than the right side. It'd be fair to say.
Yeah.
That's 5. That's just short of 10, just over 10%. Whereas right side is giving you 15. Yeah, just over 20%. So a little bit of an imbalance, probably backed up by his left back. So yeah, some things to think about there. In terms of XG, didn't do anything in this game, and therefore didn't have a shot. If you look at his individual playing time, so he had 30% of the team's touches, which is okay. 1 penalty box touch, not great. Pass success at 72, in line with what his FB was saying. Won 66% of his duels though, which is pretty good for a forward. To be fair. Only 2.4% of the team's EPB. Given, I am no supernova, but typically we would expect our forwards to be in around double figures, right? So, yeah, some things to like, but some also things to think. He's a kid. Can he do much more? He's banging out on all his metrics, not exceeding any of them. So, yeah, an interesting guy. I think if it was going to be a large fee, I would expect a bit more promise in him. But all the metrics are improving. That would be fair to say.
It's going the right way.
Are they're going the right way, but are they going at the right pace? Is the only thing. Would this be a step too quickly to another level? Or that's probably the questions that people would. If it was my money, I'll be asking.
And again, let's give you the final bits that we've got, and we'll see if it moves the needle at all, because we're not quite there, probably, it's fair to say, with Fofana. Is the elements, and I know you brought this to the party as well, there's some good defensive numbers in terms of, like you said, interceptions with 73rd percentile. This kid progresses the ball unbelievably, 96th percentile, 6 a game. So he is literally carrying it a lot. He's a runner. There's no two ways about it. And his progressive passes received, as you said, was in double figures, over 10 a game, 81st percentile, we said. And his non-penalty goals, for comparison to his peers, and I know people will shout FB ref, but that's based against peers and Ligue 1, but that comes into the top levels. 97th percentile for his age. I know it's per 90 as well. People will shout, but you've got to look at these things. But the two key things, and there is green on there, we've got to say that. Does it change your mind if I say that number one is recorded pace, and it's not the normal place we get our stats from, but from the info, rapid 35 plus is number one.
That'd be very, very useful to have, yeah.
And the second thing is, you know, that sexy price point we always like for our wingers around the 40 million mark?
Yeah.
Leon, we know, have got financial issues. So you could, you know, really drill it down. Does that change it at all?
Definitely. I think it's fair to say that one of the left wingers will leave it.
Yeah.
Right?
We know who it is, yeah.
That's fair, right? I think it's then a question of this kid has promise, right? He's got, what was I saying, about 0.45 non-penalty goals next year. So he's on the way up, right? That is improving. It's whether you think Cody can be your first choice left winger, which he largely had moved himself into that position anyway on the slot. And then this kid comes in and develops. If you're happy with that combination for that price point and for the minutes he's played and he's improving those minutes, I could see how that could work out. There is a lot of league attacks, and it is worse than Buddy. It's not as bad as Eredivisie, but it's sort of in there. So you have to reduce the numbers a little bit. But yeah, for not quite, a chip paper fee, but a step up, that could be a deal worth doing. He's rapid, he's tidy on the ball. It sounds like it could be just some clever coaching, should we say, to mold him into something else. If you get it below that price, I mean that's almost makes a lot of sense. But again, it comes back to that question we had with the previous kid. Are you happy with the guy that's going to be left being the first choice? Therefore, the backup makes sense, right? If you're not, then you spend the money to go and get a first choice and you bring the other guy back. Yeah, if you're happy with Cody being starting left winger, then a signing like this makes sense.
Which may be the case of how do Liverpool see it. And the only other bit we got for the analyst when we're asking about wingers and raw potential is Arne Slot has got a history with developing young wingers, and people look at Minter, don't they, at Brighton now. He was developed at Feyenoord, and look how well he's going. So it is an interesting one to keep an eye on. I would not rule Fofana out. It's like you said, is you happy with Gakpo there, or do you want to move the needle more? If you want to move the needle more, forget it. If you think there's potential and Gakpo as the starter, this is one to look at. We will have to see what Liverpool think. But there we go, people. 2 at Feyenoord. 1 captain with injury, and there's just too many red flags. You could dress it up either way on a low price. We can't move the needle. The young kid, there's not much data, but there is a lot to like on the bits we have. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on, and people would like the idea of Reed. Malick Fofana, left winger. The needle's going the right way. The trajectory's going the right way. Probably for Bart's line. Is it going quick enough? But that's a rapid kid, so I wouldn't ignore that either. There we go. 3 interesting names, different outcomes from us. All it leads me to say as ever is, Bart, for the time, the insight, and for going double Dutch on us, it is much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index.